Welcome to the Lantern Group, and I hope this summary of the input from our first meeting on Monday 5th of February, just after Candlemas, will be helpful to you. Every time we meet, we will focus on specific ways to help us hold our light steady in a turbulent world. It will only be one or two focus points each time, partly to leave space for discussion in the group, and partly to leave space around the idea itself. There's a wonderful Japanese word, ma, for the space you leave around things so they can be appreciated. For instance, an ikebana flower arrangement isn't set on a crowded table or shelf already filled with ornaments and photographs and things to be dealt with later. It stands in its own niche, with a space in front of it, so you can properly see and appreciate it. It is the space that allows you to really see it and to take it in. So, in the same way, in the Lantern Group, we will hold in the light just one or two ideas, with the intention that in the days to come we will be practicing what we've considered and discussed, and have the chance to notice if that helps us. And if so, how? What difference did it make? The Lantern Group is convened to help us with the task of quantum activism, the belief grounded in the realities observed in quantum physics that any input we make, however small and wherever we may be, vibrates through the whole quantum field to make a difference. And this can be something very small. That's a central idea to quantum activism. And we're here to learn strategies for holding our light steady, for bringing into our ordinary everyday lives the calling of the anchorite, to anchor the earth anchor the light into the spot of earth where we are. It's like switching on the porch light to help guide weary travellers home. Our strategies will assume we do not have a lot of energy or money. We are the fireflies of the lantern world, not the 1300 lumen floodlights. The energies of this present time are very turbulent. We're proceeding on the basis of the understanding that holding our light steady won't happen by accident. We must become wise in the practice of anchoring the light. At each meeting led by me, we will have some encouraging quotations from people whose light shone clearly and steadily in this world. And this time we have 3 quotations to encourage us. The Buddhist teacher, Tara Brach, says, "You are the sky, the rest is the weather." So that's a reminder to us to hold our centre and not be distracted or knocked off balance by what's going on around us. We are bigger than that. You are the sky, the rest is the weather. And then a similar idea from a source I cannot trace, so a thank you to the person unknown to me who originally said this. We all live in the same world, but do not live in the same frequency. So our experience of life is primarily determined not by our circumstances, but by our inner reality or vibration. We all live in the same world, but do not live in the same frequency. And thirdly, a quotation from Viktor Frankl. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is the power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. I'll say that again because this is the focus of what we're thinking about in this meeting. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is the power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. With that as the basis for our exploration, I'd like to build in to Viktor Frankl's proposal of those three elements, stimulus, then space, then response, a fourth element that comes right after the stimulus, reaction. Because it's important for us to see that there is a difference between a reaction and a response. To every stimulus, we have a reaction. For instance, if we see a delicious box of chocolates open before us, it might make our mouths water. We might have an immediate reaction of wanting to eat some. Or, if someone says something mocking or rude to us, we might react with an immediate flare of anger and indignation, maybe wanting to reciprocate with equal rudeness. In each case, that's our reaction. But what if these reactions could cause problems later on? Confronted with the tempting chocolates, perhaps we have diabetes or a gut inflammation, and eating something sugary could be a seriously bad idea right now, especially if we've already had our pudding. Or in the case of our mocking antagonist, perhaps a snarky riposte will escalate the encounter into a row and move it in the direction of deepening dislike, actual enmity that will be hard to reverse later. Now, our reaction is not a moral matter. It's neither good nor bad, it's just how we feel. We notice it, but we don't judge ourselves for it. It's just how we felt. But having noticed our reaction, in the little space that follows, we make up our mind. We determine and choose our response. We look at the chocolates. Our immediate reaction is to want the entire box. But in the space that follows, we choose our response, and that might be, no thank you. Or it might be, lovely, I'll just have one. And you have to know yourself well to determine which is the best response for you. For some people, just one is not an option. Or faced with the rudeness of the person sneering at us, we note the flare of irritation that is our reaction. But perhaps we might prefer to make the choice that we will be the person to condition how we speak and act, to choose our response, not them. If we can get ourselves to it, perhaps we may entertain the idea that we might have misunderstood, or that they meant it as a joke and it came out wrong. So we choose to turn their remark aside with something courteous and friendly and brief. And that's our response. So our practice for the week ahead, building on Viktor Frankl's idea, but adding in the extra bit about noticing our reactions, is to hold in mind the possibilities that come with every stimulus we encounter. We have an immediate, spontaneous reaction, but then we take a breath, give ourselves a moment's space to choose our response. We can't help our reaction, but we can help our response. and our considered responses will be the basis for our quantum activism, part of our strategy for holding our light steady. There is an incoming stimulus, there is a spontaneous reaction, there is a tiny space. In that space is the power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. And we bear in mind the Japanese concept of ma, of leaving space around things, which allows us to notice, to pay attention. If our lives are not crammed and flustered by too much going on, everything going at us at once, we will stand a better chance of seeing a stimulus for what it is and actually noticing our reaction, taking refuge in the space and choosing our response. Sometimes, of course, there's a lot going on and that's just how it is. But we will make better choices in those pressured circumstances if we have established a practice and observance of this rhythm of stimulus, reaction, space, and response. It is the space that offers the uncarved block, the moment of infinite potential. And that's our practice for this time.